Moving on to what is turning out to be an extremely contentious debate over the centre's decision of new traffic fines. As many as 13 states have refused to implement the new Motor Vehicles Act. West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Punjab, Jharkhand, Maharashtra have refused to impose the strict fines to boost road discipline. Some states contend that the steep fines will overburden people, while others have said it will lead to high levels of corruption. The centre, though, has dug its heels in. It is convinced that the steep fines will act as a deterrent. In fact, Nitin Gadkari, the minister in question, has said the high penalties under the amendment were passed after careful recommendation with all shareholders. The big question, however, is will the poorest of the poor, those who spend most time on our roads like auto drivers, taxi drivers, truck drivers, bus drivers, be able to afford the steep fines? That's the question we're asking today. In fact, I have a couple of colleagues who have spent most of their day talking to exactly these people. Aishman is live from New Delhi, Shrija live from Bangalore. Aishman, you first. If you've had the chance to speak to people who function as professional drivers, what response have they given you about these fines that we understand have already been implemented in New Delhi?
Well, Faye, in New Delhi, the official implementation from the government's nod is still awaited, but Delhi police have been issuing challans. These are the court challans which are being issued, and in the evening at Dwarka, we have got few of the drivers, the e-rickshaw drivers, and we'll talk to them to know what they feel of this new bill. Sir, ये जो नया मोटर व्हीकल एक्ट जो सरकार लाई है, आप लोग सड़कों पे चलते हैं, कैसे देखते हैं इसे, क्या फील करते हैं?
देखिए, एक तरफ से ये कानून बिल्कुल सही है, एक तरफ से बहुत खराब भी है।
बहुत खराब कैसे?
खराब की मतलब कि ये जैसे अब चलान जहाँ 200 हो रहा है वो चलान सीधे 2200, 25,000, 30,000 को हो रहा है। यही हो रहा है ना। अभी फिलहाल अभी एक स्कूटी के चलान 23,000 रुपया कटा है। ई रिक्शा तो अभी कुछ नहीं हुआ है, बाकी तो
आपको लगता है कि ये सरकार जो ये लेकर आई है, सेफ्टी, सरकार कहती है कि सेफ्टी के लिए है, क्या उस बात पर आप लोगों को क्या लगता है, सेफ्टी होती है लोगों की?
हाँ, बिल्कुल होती है। अगर लोगों के ऊपर दबाव नहीं डालेंगे तो ये कानून जो है बेकार हो जाएगा। ये कानून एकदम सही है, मोदी गवर्नमेंट सही लाई है एकदम।
So mixed reaction, Faye. Here people say that definitely the hefty fines are being imposed, but definitely it is something the law has to be enforced.
Let's also cut across to Bangalore. Shrija is live in Bangalore as well. Shrija, what are the citizens in Bangalore saying about this? Will this sort of bring in a stricter, following of the rules of the traffic laws on the streets?
Well, Faye, in fact, over the last 1 week, we have seen nearly 72 lakh rupee has been fined as far as Bengaluru is concerned, which means it has over 6,000 cases registered just here in the city. I'm right now here at Majestic, joined in by auto drivers as well as the taxi drivers here as well. Now, going to this particular auto driver, let's find out. Sir, ಈಗ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಹೊಸ ಫೈನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿರೋದು ಹೇಗೆ ಅನ್ಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? ಇದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೆಂಗೆ?
ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಜಾಗೃತಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ನಾವು ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಇವಾಗ ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ದಿವಸ 700 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಇಲ್ಲ 1,000ನೂ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ಮನೇಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ ಇವಾಗ ಸೀಸನ್ ಬೇರೆ ಕೋಲ್ಡ್, ಹುಷಾರಿಲ್ದದೆ ನಾವು ಫೈನಾನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಂದಿರ್ತೀವಿ, ಗಾಡಿ ರಿಪೇರಿ ಅಂತವೆಲ್ಲ ಚೀಟಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತವೆ. ಇಂಥದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಫೈನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರೆ ದುಡಿಯೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡೋದು? ತಿಂಡಿ ಊಟಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಮಕ್ಳಿಗೆ ಸಾಕೋದು ಹಿಂಗೆ.
What he's telling us is that, all that he earns is a meager amount on a daily basis. And how does he even pay up or cough that particular traffic fine, which has been, in fact, amended? This is from September 1st onwards. Now, let me go across to a taxi driver over here. In fact, coming to you, ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ಈಗ ಹೇಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ಇದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಜನರಿಗೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ ಇದು?
ಇವಾಗ ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ತುಂಬ ತೊಂದರೆನೇ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಡವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಒಂದಿನ ಕೂಲಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವರ್ಕೌಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವರ್ಕೌಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರು ದುಡಿದ್ರೇನೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಊಟ ತಿಂಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲ
ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಅವರು ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನ ಹಿಡಿದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, 10,000 ಕಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನೀವು ವಿಲ್ ಯು ಪೇ 10,000 ರೂಪಿ ಆಸ್ ದ ಬಿಲ್? ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ?
10,000 ಅಂದ್ರೆ 10,000ನೇ ಕಟ್ಟಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲಾಂದ್ರೆ ಗಾಡಿ ಏನು ನಮ್ಮ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ DL ಕೊಡಬೇಕು, ಇಲ್ಲ ಏನೋ ಸಮಥಿಂಗ್ ಏನಾದ್ರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ.
So what he is saying is that, in fact, Chandru, a taxi driver here, he's telling us there have been several instances, you know, the police officers, in fact, traffic cops, they might stop them, they might seize their vehicles, but there are certain instances where they have come across various cases where they cough up some amount, not at least the bill which they have to pay, the fine, but they cough up some amount to especially pay as the bribe to the cops. Now, which means it definitely increases. There is a question of corruption there. Faye, now coming to you, ಹೇಗೆ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಫೈನ್ಸ್ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ? ಇನ್ನೂ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೆಂಗೆ?
ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವಾಗ ಇರೋದು ಫೈನ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ. ಇವಾಗ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ದುಡ್ಡು ನಾವು ಕಟ್ಟಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಇವಾಗ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಇವಾಗ
ಬಟ್ ಇದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ?
ಇದು ಒಂಥರ ಒಳ್ಳೇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮಂತ ಬಡವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಇವಾಗ 1000, 2000, 5000, 10,000 ಫೈನ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ತಗೊಂಬರ್ತೀರ ನೀವು? ನಾವು ದುಡಿಯೋದು 1000 ಇಲ್ಲ 200 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ದುಡಿತೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ 1500 ದುಡಿತೀವಿ. ಏನೋ ಒಂದು 100 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಇಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು 200 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಒಂದು 300 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಫೈನ್ ಆದರೂ ಓಕೆ ಕಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. 1000 ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ?
For a taxi driver who says he earns about only just a meager 200 rupees, 200 to 250 rupees, where does he go to cough up this kind of a fine is the question that he's asking. Of course, they're also telling, yes, it will do good. It will also bring down especially traffic violations. But however, this is done entirely in an unscientific manner. Back to you, Faye.
All right, Shrija, thank you for bringing us voices from the ground, from people who'd be affected the most. Shrija, they're live from Bangalore. Let me bring in my guest, Abhishek Mishra, spokesperson for the BJP. Professor Garga Chatterjee is the political analyst supporting the TMC from Calcutta. Jitendra Gupta, founder, member of the Citizen Transport Committee. Maxwell Pereira, retired Joint Police Commissioner at Delhi. Nikita Chawla is an author. Bal Malkit Singh is the chairperson of the core committee and former president of the All India Motor Truckers Corporation. I welcome all of you to this conversation and thank you for giving us your time. I want to start with Mr. Singh, Bal Malkit Singh of the Transporters Committee, the Truckers Committee. This is also, you know, we heard that taxi driver tell Shrija that we make between 250 and 500 rupees a day. How would we possibly pay fines of 5,000 or 10,000? Is this also what the truckers are telling you, Mr. Singh?
We have been regularly cautioning the government since 2014 that the higher fine will be backfire and there will be no improvement. And as you have seen, since last 10 days, 13 states have refused to implement and other states have also requested center to lesser the fines. And exorbitant hike in the plenties, wide Motor Vehicle Act Amendment Act 2019 has only spiked the corruption, high-handedness, extortion and harassment to the motorist all across the country. The plenties, we feel that plenties must be reasonable and the main objective must be for correction and responsible road behavior. Without adequate infrastructure or giving the basic facilities, parking, highways facilities, toilets, waters, the fines which you are levying on the motorist is not bearable, not payable by them. As we are aware, the country is reeling under the recession. There is the job losses and the paying capacity is not so much that the fine can be charged. Trucking industry
Yes.
is the essential service providers and all the major cities have increased behind their reach and there is no parking facilities. As a result, there is the harassment by the local goons and the police department. Various flaws are there, bad road condition, pothole, bad road engineering, black spots, which were NDA1 has identified, but nothing has improved. Recently, there was an incident in Odisha where a poor trucker of one truck operator was charged around 1,50,000. How it is possible that he will pay such a huge amount? Ultimately, he has to surrender the truck to the police department and let them recover the cost of the fines.
Okay, all right. Let me just bring in other voices, please, if I may.
Implement is not practical and not justifiable.
All right. Jitendra Gupta, founder of the Citizen Transport Committee. Do you believe that this will add, this is for the safety of citizens and it's a good move?
Of course, this is for the safety of the citizens, but I don't know what ground research the authorities have done before coming out with this sort of penalties. Like, first of all, like how much a normal, like it's okay for a SUV driver. He can, I mean, not a driver, but I can say the owner. He can easily pay any amount of fine that has been imposed by the government. But what about a normal taxi puller, rickshaw puller, or a truck driver? Like, will he be able to pay that much fine? That is more important. His salary, a truck driver's salary is not more than 12 or 15,000. And if he is made to pay 25,000 salary, he is sure to give up the job of driving. So there is going to be a lot of unemployment in this sector with this sort of punishment. Because a driver who is driving, a truck driver, if he is driving for 18 hours in this country, we compare our all fines and everything and truck condition, I mean everything with the West. But are the drivers in West driving with this sort of conditions that we are having? Here a truck driver is driving for 18 hours. He is staying in the cabin itself. He is cooking in the cabin. And after that, after driving for 18 hours, do you expect him not to make a mistake? And suppose he makes, he doesn't make a mistake for 28 days, 29 days. On the last day of 30th day, he makes a mistake and there is a fine of 25,000. How is going to bear that fine? His salary is just 15,000, 12,000. From where he'll get that fine? So he is sure to leave the job. So that is the first thing. Secondly, are you giving us that sort of a roads? You are penalizing the people for whatever mistakes they are making. But what about the authorities? Do we have encroachment-free roads? Do we have jam-free roads? Do we have pothole-free roads? We are facing a situation where people are dying because there are no proper roads. Because they are, I mean, the motorcycles are jumping in the potholes, and sometimes people are landing up in the manholes.
That's a very strong point.
Who is going to be responsible for that? Now the Act says that.
Yes, let me just give everybody an opportunity to make an opening statement, Mr. Gupta, and then I'll come back to you. Maxwell Pereira is with us, retired Joint Police Commissioner, Delhi. Mr. Pereira, there's been a lot of worry about the fact in some reports that police are extorting money because at the end of the day, they'll say, give me 500 or go pay a fine of 5,000. So that's not much of a choice. Do you believe that these high fines will increase in some way temptation for corruption?
Of course they will. I mean, there will be those who will try and extort the bribes, but there should be, I mean, I would expect the government would have made adequate arrangements to have vigilance squads over them, number one. But why doesn't anyone understand the fact that this new fines will lead to some discipline on the road? If you follow the rules, where are the fines? If you follow the rules, if you obey the traffic rules, where is the fine? Nobody tells you that for not committing aberration, breaking a traffic rule, you will be fined. So everyone is harping about the fines. But why don't you realize that there will be no fine if the rule is obeyed? It's a paramount, this is a simple thing for people to understand. Long discourses I heard of my predecessors talking, that everything is disproportionate, everything is, cannot be done and whatnot. If you don't violate, then you don't have to pay any fine. A simple thing like that should be understood first.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I also want to point out that there are several research papers done by universities over the world that point out very clearly that fines can be harsh, but they have to be in proportion with the average income in a country or in a society. You cannot base your fine based on the highest income in your society. In that case, if we go, if we base all of the fines based on, what the richest people in our country can afford to pay, it's actually unfair because that is not the average salary. They can be harsh in proportion to an income. They can't be unreasonable. But I want to bring in the other voices as well. Abhishek Mishra for the BJP. A couple of questions that have been raised
Faye,
for... Yes, Mr. Pereira.
Give me a moment.
Go ahead.
Give me a moment. Yes, there is at the moment, like what Delhi police has done, it is the court challans are being given. The courts have the discretion. The fine may be 5,000. The court may take only 500. The courts have the discretion. Why don't the people realize that? The maximum fine is defined, but these are simple things for people to understand. Nobody has got any authority on the courts. The court can't be compelled to, levy that fine, the prescribed fine. They have the discretion to this thing. I think there should be the government and the courts should be, in understanding properly.
Okay. Let me bring in Nikita Chawla, please. Okay, Mr. Pereira.
Generally, they should levy.
Nikita Chawla has her hand up. Ms. Chawla, go ahead.
Faye, Faye, I just want to add on to what he had to say. So I just got a fine. I just checked out my e-challans and I have got some fines. But when he says that, the court has a different set of authority and no one can compel them to act a certain way, in the fines that I have got, there aren't proofs. So they have these photographs, but the images don't open. So how do I know that whether it is actually, and there is no way that I can get back to them digitally to ask them. So, and a lot of people have been facing this, and we've been discussing this in our workspaces, on WhatsApp groups, that a lot of people can't open those photographs. So how do we know whether it is actually us or it is by default or it is not? Also, when it comes to the Motor Vehicle Act, it comes under the concurrent list of the government, which means that the centre has full jurisdiction to implement it, but the compounding charges of the fines that have to be levied can be decided by the states concerned. So when 13 states are refusing to implement it and they are saying that the fines are really harsh, they have a point, because you cannot, the fines ought to be proportionate to the income. So the way we have different income tax slabs, because different people can afford to contribute differently to the welfare of the economy, similarly different people can afford to pay differently yet fairly in a certain amount of proportion to the fines meted out to them. Also, when he talks about the Delhi government, so I have some statistics over here, if you could just give me a moment. So on Delhi roads, and I was just speaking with the police commissioner, the joint police commissioner of Delhi, 625 body cameras have been given to the traffic police men in Delhi, so that there are also checks and balances. Like I was talking last time on your show, so I went and made an effort to figure out what are the checks and balances on them. But the amount, this is not in proportion to the amount of traffic policemen we have, which is about 84,000 something, out of which 25% is deployed with the VVIP movement, etc. But even then, 625 is of no comparison to the amount of police officers we have. So what happens and how do we check regarding harassment? So when these taxi drivers, rickshaw drivers, there should, I think, be different slabs, a different one for motorists, a different ones for the car vehicles, and different laws. Also, when something jumps 10 times over, it is not feasible and it is not very, it is not normal when something moves 10 times over. It's alarming actually. And a lot of young people have stopped driving cars for this reason.
Yes. That is true. That is true. Let me just bring in the final two voices, and these are the two opposite ends of the political spectrum. We have Abhishek Mishra for the BJP and Professor Chatterjee, who's joining us out of Bengal. But Abhishek Mishra, here are the couple of questions, very valid questions that have been raised by our panelists for the government. Mr. Singh raised the point of the fact that truckers or drivers who make 15,000 rupees a month could lose more than that for one mistake. Has the government thought that through? What happens to the bad roads? What happens to corruption? Mr. Pereira asked if the government has an adequate arrangement to stop corruption. Do you have an adequate arrangement? And of course, that as was raised by Jitendra Gupta, the bad roads. Who will pay for the bad roads and for that lack of safety? And Ms. Chawla's question of how you're going to implement Has the government thought these points through?
Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari ji, he very clearly stated that this is not a revenue generation scheme. The scheme, the new amended Motor Act, has been implemented to create respect and fear for the law. He also very clearly said that the intention is to save lives. Faye D'Souza, kindly understand, on Indian roads 1.5 lakh deaths occur annually. It is the highest in the world. There are 4.8 lakh accidents. Something was needed on a very large scale with lot of effectiveness to ensure. And as Gadkari ji said, maximum deaths are occurring between 18 to 35. They are very young ages. Hence, to ensure that the stopping the 1.5 lakh deaths and to create respect for the law, to save lives, the amended Motor Act has been brought about. More importantly, again I repeat, Nitin Gadkari ji clearly said it is not a revenue generation scheme. It is merely to create fear and respect for law, that we can save those 1.5 lakh lives which are lost annually on Indian roads every year. So I hope I have replied to you and your panel.
Not at all, actually. You haven't addressed any of the questions I asked you about what you're doing to bring down corruption.
Actually,
about
no,
what you're doing for bad roads.
Not at all.
Of what you're doing.
Faye, I have a question.
Yeah, just 1 second, Ms. Chawla. I also want to point out to you that there is a high risk here, Mr. Mishra, that the drivers, professional drivers, will give up driving and take up something that doesn't involve these kinds of fines. If they do mazduri, for example, they won't have to pay fines of 25,000 rupees. So the government has actually leaned heavily on Ola and Uber for job creation, on Swiggy and Zomato for job creation. If we are going to fine a Zomato rider 25,000 rupees, he's going to give up that job and look for another job. Will we be adding to an already massive problem of job creation? Professor Chatterjee, go ahead, and then I'll allow everybody an opportunity to rebut. Professor Chatterjee, go ahead.
Let us not fall for the trap that when a government, a union government makes a law, that's the first time anybody in India is thinking about that issue for the first time. As it now stands, that every state in the Indian Union actually have motor vehicle laws, though the motor vehicle laws and also the awareness programs around those things are also of varied effectiveness. For example, let me give you the example of the Safe Drive, Save Life campaign in West Bengal, which has been going on since 2016. In 2016, there were 13,580 incidences of traffic accidents with 6,544 casualties. Now, 2018 audit has shown that it has come down by 35%. Research after research has shown that awareness is the single most effective way, and also I want to draw attention to what other panelists said, that fines have to be proportional to income and not let's say, encourage bribe giving. Okay, this is a reality of life.
Okay.
Having said that, when we come to the question of awareness materials, if we come to the question of awareness materials, let us also understand that a majority of the people of the Indian Union do not understand Hindi. None of the material that the union government provides is in Bangla, Tamil, Malayalam or any other language. National highways in India, NHAI under Nitin Gadkari, they do not have any Bangla signboards. It's a problem. So these are real issues on the ground that need to be actually looked upon. Having said that, BJP must answer two things. Why is it?
Yeah. You said that study after study has shown that awareness is the best way to improve safety. Could you tell us which study you're referring to, please?
If you look at the National Transport Authority, the NTA studies of USA, of course, they are not from our country. They have shown that punitive fines often have an inverse proportion to this sort of measuring up to it. There are issues of bribing also in every country. Those things happen. Okay. Having said that, if we go in, okay, we have these varied conditions. The state governments are in touch with the realities of the ground. It is not state versus India, you know. The states are India. The center is a concept. States are the real land on the ground. So they understand what the reality is. And lastly, Totos and e-rickshaws are a very huge problem on Indian streets because they are unregulated and very risky, causes of most number of accidents nowadays, large number of accidents. And the largest importer of that very unsafe vehicle happens to be Mr. Nitin Gadkari's brother-in-law.
No, 1 second. Let's stay
The
on
largest importer actually, the Purti group.
Let's stay on topic of this fine and not get into the political because that would derail us completely. Just raise your hand if anybody has a rebuttal to offer either of these gentlemen. Yes, Ms. Chawla, go ahead.
All right, so the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and I quote, this is a study from India Today, a very recent one just 3 days ago, over 9,300 deaths and 25,000 injured in 3 years, 2015 to 2018, due to potholes. The government, this has been submitted by the Ministry of Road Transport, and people have been killed because of road accidents. What has the government been doing towards this? A lot of people in the poorer states, like Mamata Banerjee's state, in other states where Malayalam is spoken and you do not have signboards in English or Hindi, or in their, you have signboards in English and Hindi, but not in the local languages. The poor people can't read. So half the time they do not know the road safety laws, they do not know what are the traffic signs and the signages reading. They are crossing and violating rules. On top of it, you have bad road engineering and potholes. This is also one aspect. You can't just levy a fine and expect everyone to blankly follow without. So if the law, exactly, so if the law is not there in any other language except Hindi and English, I'm also not sure of how many people at the grassroots level are even aware that this law has been implemented in their respective states. Let's not just talk of metropolitans where we are sitting or on a TV debate in newsrooms. What do the people actually know what has been happening and how is it that they can work around it? We live in a very diverse country with people coming from all sorts of backgrounds. Hence, the law must be implemented as per the capacity of the people, the paying capacity and the capacity of their understanding.
Jitendra
We are living in a democracy.
Yes, Jitendra Gupta, go ahead.
See, basically, here we are, lot of, even Nitin Gadkari, I think, must have said that the fines which are there in our country are much below than the West. We are forgetting many realities which are different from, our reality different from the West. Now, the number of vehicles per square kilometer on any road is much higher in Mumbai or in Delhi or any of the cities of our country. So that's surely going to increase the number of accidents. So there is no point in comparing the number of accidents that are taking place in our country or in West. Again, we have to see that what is the accountability over here. Here, the authorities, the local authorities, the municipal authorities, they hardly care for human lives. The people lose their life over here. And again, the most important thing is now what is the revenue share? Now, if you talk about this implementation of this act, now this act needs, they have made it everything high tech because to avoid bribing, they said that we are going to make it high tech. Now, for making it high tech, who is going to invest in this? Like for the hardware, for the software, like for the breath analyzer or for any other instrument that are going to be used. Each policeman is going to have those instruments. Who is investing in this? Is there a PP model? Is there a public-private partnership model? If it is, then what is the revenue share? We don't know. Nothing is there in public domain. Again, who has prepared the software? You need software for implementing this act. Nothing is disclosed. Everything is behind the curtains. We are very suspicious about everything that has been planned in the entire act.
Okay, we have a couple of people on the phone line. Citizens are calling in. Pradhan is called in from Kannur. Go ahead. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, I used to see this all debates or whatever happen, whether it is transport, whether it is some other political everything. But as my opinion, these people are giving license to the people without any people awareness, just taking the driving, and immediately the next week or same day giving the license. This is not a habitat to everybody, sir. First of all, we have to give the customer awareness, make people awareness.
Yes. So our process of handing out actual driver's licenses needs to be tighter. Mahesh on the phone line from Pune. Mahesh, go ahead.
Hi, from New Delhi.
Yes.
I think this is the same thing what government said at the time of the GST and Notbandi. They are playing the same game now, saying this will help people and educate people. It is not like that. It is just a carrot and stick theory. They want to push us towards the wall so that till we break. And President APJ Abdul Kalam once said that we have to increase the value system of the society. That is bringing poor people up. And what they are doing is becoming, the poor people is becoming more poor. So this is not the way. They should increase the value system, educate people, not directly pushing the fine toward, and so the people react and pushing. Ultimately, the people are going to break.
Mahesh on the phone line from Pune. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So basically, I just want to understand how it will impact the system if I didn't carry the paper for today. I don't really understand why you have this entire system ready with you. You should know if this particular papers has been given by you. So you should scan our system and give whatever the things are missing. So you can have the integration also with my PUC, insurance, everything. And I don't really understand why you are, if I didn't carry paper, how I'm going to do accident. And that's what my question is. And why this type of means this integration should happen, and people, if they are really making some mistake, then they can be fined.
Yes, I saw that Mr. Maxwell Pereira wanted to come in. Mr. Pereira, go ahead.
I said it 100 times before, and again, Faye, I repeat it. How did you get your license? You know, people are talking about awareness. I mean, he was required to be aware before he got the license. Where is the language problem if he got the license? When he got the license, I mean, he had to become aware.
And why are there any signboards on the streets?
Most of the signs.
Then why are there any instructions on the streets?
You know, Mr. Chatterjee, we do not interrupt each other on this show. It's not that kind of show. Please wait for the other person to finish speaking. Mr. Pereira, go ahead, please.
The 99% of the signboards are signs, not in any language. Try to understand, Mr. Chatterjee, or I mean, these are simple, basic things. That's why they are in sign. They are not in languages.
Okay, let me actually take that question.
Yes. A clear stop sign.
Let me take the question to Mr. Singh, who represents the Truckers Association, and it's particularly, I'm assuming, a problem for the truckers because they drive from state to state across the country. Mr. Singh, is there a problem of language in understanding the laws or the traffic rules in any particular region of the country?
Definitely, there is the language problem. Our
you are required to know the sign.
Right from the northeast travel to the North India, but that awareness should be given before issuing of the driving lessons, but that is not happening on the ground reality. Again, there is the corruption all across the RTO office. Lessons are issued, and Nitin Gadkari has stated in the public domain that 30% lessons are not genuine. Why they are being issued? Why there is no check and control? Why there is no proper training before issuing the lessons? Now, only hiking the fines will not solve any problem. There should be a reasonable penalties. Non-monetary punishment should be there, like community service, compulsory training programs, which will be highly effective. There should be an awareness, and before issuing of the lessons, entire training, all the training should be given to him, how to drive the vehicle, how to see the signs. But that is not happening in the RTO office. There is no infrastructure of issuing the licenses, and overloading, which is rampant all across the country, which not stop. And this is the main reason for the accidents. All should be accountable. Consignor, consignee, trucker, transporter should be accountable for the overloading.
I can see that, you know, Mr. Chatterjee has his hand up.
So, Faye, I think we have identified the actual...
Yes, yes. Mr. Pereira, I'll come back to you. I just want to give Mr. Chatterjee an opportunity to speak, if I may.
Very briefly, Mr. Pereira said that language is not a problem. The Truckers Association's Mr. Singh said so, and let me be very clear. If something exists, there is a reason for it existing. Union government websites about transport and information about such laws do not exist in non-Hindi languages. Signboards saying that, go slow, saying that there is a school ahead, etc. Why do they exist in Hindi in that case? Then take it out, as simple as that. In West Bengal, NHAI has Hindi signboards, does not have Bangla signboards. Same for the basic law. Even the law doesn't exist in Bangla, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, only in Hindi. Then only make the law, implement the law in the cow belt.
Right. All right. I'm just going to give one last word here. I know that Mr. Pereira had to say something. Mr. Pereira, go ahead if you want to rebut that.
No, I repeat the same things. Cardinal, what we have identified now is the necessity to have a valid, trained, driving license. And we have to concentrate on that and not harp on the fines. We have to concentrate on correcting the licenses, or if there are fake licenses or wrong licenses issued, then they should be identified and they should be corrected. Number one. To my knowledge, all over the country, at least in metropolitan cities, the licensing system has been rectified. There is hardly any, the touts used to be there, the rampant corruption is to be there. These things have gone. The licensing in metropolitan cities, at least I know for certain that it has been tightened. Now, number two, awareness and language problem is absolutely nonsense. There is nothing. The signs, that's why their traffic signs are called signs. They are not in any language. Now, that children are there, it's the children that are shown on the signboard. One has to understand that the children are there. Going slow, these are all in additional. If there are certain signs where in addition it has been shown in some language, yes, that is an additional. The sign, yes, is always there. Yes. It is the sign that matters.
All right, we have some breaking news that's coming in.
Again, I repeat,
forgive me for interrupting you, Mr. Pereira. There's breaking news that's coming in, and it's pertaining to the very story that we're discussing right now. And this is the story. Now, with states contemplating the reduction of penalties on traffic violations, the Transport Ministry, headed by Mr. Nitin Gadkari, has sought legal opinions on whether or not the states can reduce these fines below the minimum penalty fixed in the amended act. That's new. There's news that's coming in now. The central government is going to seek legal opinion on whether or not the states are legally allowed to reduce the fine in the manner in which they're doing. Agencies tell us that the Transport Ministry is now looking for a legal opinion. Let me just take this one question back to Mr. Abhishek Mishra, who has not answered any of the specific questions I've asked him so far. The questions were on bad roads. They were on prevention of corruption in the implementation of these rules, and they were on what arrangements or studies the government had done to arrive at this point. I want to add another question, and this is picking up from what Ms. Chawla had said. According to data of the Government of India, there have been 3,597 deaths across India in the year 2017 due to potholes. What is the government's plan to bring safety to our roads, Mr. Mishra?
As the Honorable Minister Nitin Gadkari ji clearly had said, to understand a 1.5 lakh, he asked the question, do the 1.5 lakh deaths which have occurred do not matter? It is also the responsibility of the states also to ensure safety and, curb the deaths. Gadkari ji has clearly said it is not a revenue making scheme. I repeat once again, I repeat this earlier also, you're not getting the main point. He said this amended Motor Act is to create respect for the law. The intention is to save lives. Once again, I repeat for the viewers, 1.5 lakh deaths annually are occurring on Indian roads. It is the highest in the world. The government had to act, had to
Mr.
do
Mishra,
a
let me ask you
very
this. Mr.
tough
Mishra,
measure.
Mr.
And
Mishra,
this should be respected and welcomed by all.
Mr. Mishra,
The
you've so
intention
far,
to save lives. I think, Faye,
Mr. Mishra,
even your
Mr.
intention
Mishra,
must be
stop
to save
shouting.
lives.
All right. Nobody wants to kill anybody on this show. I've given you 3 opportunities to speak. I've asked you 5 different questions. In all opportunities, you've actually only said one thing. 1.5 lakh deaths. We want to stop the deaths. We want to create respect for the rules on the road. I accept every single one of these points. Thank you very much for making those points 4 times over. Now, do you have anything else to add other than the things that you have already said? Is there a plan to reduce pothole-related deaths? Absolutely not related to what we're talking, to your points that you have made. Is there a plan to reduce
if you want to
corruption?
go now into specifics, I was repeating those points because they were the key points.
No, we're not stupid. You don't have to repeat those points over and over again. We heard you the first time. Now answer the questions
for
we
the
have asked
viewers
you.
must know. Those are the main points because you are trying to divert the agenda. Let me.
I
now
have
come to
no
specifics.
agenda, Mr. Mishra.
With regards to licenses, which many of your panelists, which many of the panelists spoke about, it is this very government, Nitin Gadkari ji, he has stopped, the issuing of licenses which are not in the right manner. He has said they will all be, made in electronic manner. We have worked to ensure that licenses are given to deserving. And in many places, 30 to 40% of the people who earlier got licenses did not get now. So we are working on strategic level at the lowest level. But as I say to you again, if, as Gadkari ji asked, do deaths, 1.5 lakh death not shake your conscience? Is the government's responsibility not to save lives? So we are doing everything at the level of creating good roads, at the level of ensuring licenses are given in a proper manner. We are ensuring that all the laws, the best technologies are given to our police officers.
I don't believe you're doing everything.
Our main priority is to save lives. I repeat, Faye, once again, that stop deaths happening is a priority.
I believe this. I believe the law is myopic, Mr. Mishra. People die on the highways of our country because the highways are not properly barricaded and people from neighboring villages cross the road when cars are moving at a very high speed. You have not solved that problem.
No, people have to follow law and to make them aware of the law.
You are going to give people, you are going to give villagers licenses to cross the road. We have animals crossing the road, cattle crossing the road, so the highways in our country, people die.
Wait, Suza, don't misquote. I said, Gadkari ji said we need strict laws. Strict law. L-A-W, law.
Our highways are not built properly, Mr. Mishra, and which is why people die. Most of the accidents, most of the deaths take place on 2-wheelers on state transport village roads because we aren't able to barricade those roads properly. We haven't constructed roads that are fully safe. There are several things that need to be done. So if you're going to sit on the channel today and say you are doing everything, the truth is you're not doing everything. This is a knee-jerk law that you have brought in. What will you do tomorrow if all the drivers quit their jobs and go looking somewhere else? What are we going to do now if you create another fresh problem of job creation in this country?
Respect our intention. Gadkari said our intention is to save lives.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, Mr. Mishra.
I respect the government's intention.
I'm sure you have good intentions. That doesn't necessarily mean you are bringing about good laws. I'm sure your intentions for demonetization were also good. Was there a single good thing that came out of demonetization?
No.
The answer is no.
You are going to divert. No. Don't take your hatred for the government or to this debate on motor vehicle safety, which we are ensuring people die less in India. Please respect our intention. We'll ensure that less deaths, that people, loved ones, don't lose their lives, that families are happy and safe.
All right, very good. Very, very good. So we're going to keep coming back to this and we will track and see what the implication of this law is on the roads in terms of safety, and we will bring you those reports. We will track and tell you what the implication of this law is on jobs, on the livelihood of those who drive taxis, rickshaws and trucks in our country, and we'll bring you those reports as well. Our job is to bring you the reports so you can make up your mind. Moving on to our next story this evening.